Close your eyes, try to picture yourself at 18 months old. What do you see? Static, a blank screen. You know logically that you existed then. You breathed, you cried, you learned to walk. Yet your brain has completely wiped the footage. This isn't a glitch, it's infant amnesia, and it happens to every single human being on Earth. We spend our first 3 years forming roughly 25 billion new neural connections per day. That is an astronomical amount of data processing. So why does that entire era vanish without a trace? Most people assume we simply forget those early years as time passes. But memory isn't like a hard drive that slowly loses files. It's more like a construction site. Early memories are built on unstable foundations, and when the architecture changes, the old structures collapse. Psychologists have chased this mystery for over a century. Sigmund Freud claimed we repress traumatic childhood events to protect our adult minds. Modern neuroscience proved him wrong decades ago. The truth isn't psychological trauma, it's biological engineering. Your brain literally cannot archive those memories because the filing system doesn't exist yet. By the time you can recall your first birthday party, you're already 4 years old. That missing window represents nearly 40% of your life so far, yet it leaves zero permanent record in your conscious mind. We're going to pull apart the machinery inside your skull to show exactly why that happens. You'll see how a developing hippocampus, a sudden vocabulary explosion, and an evolutionary survival strategy all collide to erase your earliest years. And once you understand the mechanism, you'll realize something unsettling about who you actually are. Let's start with the paperwork. In 1896, British psychologist Richard Teasdale published a paper that formally named this phenomenon infantile amnesia. He noticed a strange pattern across his patients. No matter how detailed their adult memories became, they never stretched past age 3 or 4. For decades, the scientific community defaulted to Freud's repression theory. The idea was seductive but flawed. It suggested adults actively buried early memories because they were too disturbing to handle. But in 1976, researchers Usher and Neisser tracked down over 200 adults and asked them to pinpoint their earliest memory. The average age came back at 3 years, 5 months. Crucially, most of those recollections weren't traumatic. They involved family trips, minor falls, or birthday cakes. If repression were the cause, we'd be remembering car crashes and hospital visits, not cake smashes. The data killed Freud's theory. What replaced it was a hardware problem. Human brains don't ship with full operating systems at birth. Your hippocampus, the brain's dedicated memory consolidation center, is essentially under construction for your first 7 years. MRI scans from developmental studies show that infant hippocampal neurons fire rapidly, but lack the structural wiring needed to lock experiences into long-term storage. Think of it like trying to save a document on a computer without a hard drive installed. The data processes in real time, you react to it, you learn from it, but there's nowhere permanent for it to go. By age 2, your brain is generating memories faster than it can archive them. This creates a massive bottleneck. The neural pathways that do form are fragile, relying on raw sensory input rather than organized narrative structures. When those early connections fail to integrate into the maturing hippocampus, they simply dissolve during routine metabolic turnover. Your brain isn't deleting your childhood on purpose. It's just too busy building itself to keep the blueprints. The real eraser isn't time, it's pruning. Between birth and age 3, your brain undergoes what neuroscientists call synaptic overproduction. At 6 months old, your visual cortex contains roughly twice as many neural connections as an adult brain. By 18 months, that density peaks at about 150 trillion synapses across the entire cerebrum. This isn't efficient, it's chaotic. Your infant brain casts a wide net, forming connections for everything. Light patterns, sound frequencies, temperature changes, emotional tones. But maintaining all those pathways requires enormous metabolic energy. So around age 3, your nervous system initiates a ruthless cleanup operation called synaptic pruning. Unused or weakly activated connections are systematically dismantled and recycled by microglial cells. This process halves the total synapse count by age 10. Here's where infant amnesia gets brutal. Memories formed during that peak density phase are stored across thousands of fragile, overlapping neural networks. When pruning kicks in, those distributed patterns get severed. It's like burning down a city to build a highway system. The early structures collapse because they don't fit the new architecture. fMRI studies confirm this. Adult brains show highly optimized, sparse memory circuits. Infant brains look like tangled yarn balls. When researchers train infant rats or monkeys on specific tasks, those subjects remember them perfectly while young. But once pruning accelerates and neural circuitry reorganizes, the old memories vanish completely. The brain prioritizes efficiency over history. It's a biological trade-off. You gain rapid learning speed and adaptive plasticity at the cost of permanent archival storage. Your earliest years aren't lost to forgetting. They're sacrificed to build the cognitive machinery you need for adulthood. Hardware explains the bottleneck. Software explains the format shift. Around 24 months, something called a vocabulary explosion hits your developing brain. You go from knowing 50 words to thousands in a matter of months. This isn't just about communication, it's about memory and coding. Before language develops, infant memories are stored as raw sensory and emotional fragments. A blur of colors, a spike of fear, the smell of milk. These analog signals degrade quickly because they lack semantic anchors. Words change everything. Language provides a tagging system. When you can label an event, birthday party, or dog bite, your brain converts fleeting sensory data into structured narrative code. This shift aligns perfectly with the average age of earliest adult memories, 3.5 years old. That's precisely when children begin forming autobiographical narratives. Psychologist William Nelson demonstrated this in longitudinal studies, where he interviewed families monthly about their toddlers' daily lives. Parents could vividly recall specific events from when kids were 18 months old. The children themselves remembered nothing until they developed the linguistic framework to reconstruct those experiences into stories. Memory isn't a video recording. It's a reconstruction built from verbal scaffolding. Once you acquire language, your brain starts weaving sensory fragments into coherent plots complete with characters, settings, and causal logic. Those early wordless memories never get translated into this new format. They remain locked in neural dead zones, inaccessible to adult recall systems. It's like trying to play a vinyl record on a CD player. The data exists, but the reading mechanism has fundamentally changed. Your childhood isn't erased by time or pruning alone. It's rendered incompatible with how your mature brain processes information. Evolution didn't design infant amnesia as an accident, it's a survival feature. Babies spend 90% of their waking hours in high-threat environments. They can't run, fight, or reason through danger. Their only defense is rapid neural adaptation. Every new face, every unfamiliar sound, every temperature shift requires immediate learning. If infant brains prioritized archiving past experiences over processing present stimuli, human offspring would die before age 2. The brain solves this by maximizing plasticity at the expense of retention. High synaptic turnover keeps circuits flexible enough to adapt to unpredictable environments. But there's another layer. Sleep architecture changes dramatically during early development. Infants spend roughly 50% of their sleep in REM stage. That's the phase where memory consolidation occurs. As we age, REM drops to about 20% by adulthood. More importantly, infant sleep cycles are shorter and more fragmented. They lack the deep slow-wave oscillations required for transferring hippocampal memories into long-term cortical storage around age 4 or 5. Without those extended consolidation windows, early experiences never complete the archival process. They remain temporary working memory that evaporates after a few days. Comparative studies across mammals support this. Species with longer juvenile dependency periods show deeper infant amnesia gaps. Elephants and cetaceans retain some early memories because their hippocampal maturation follows different timelines. Humans hit the hardest reset because our cognitive demands scale so steeply. The evolutionary trade-off is brutal but necessary. You sacrifice your earliest years to build a brain capable of abstract reasoning, social navigation, and cultural transmission. That blank canvas isn't a loss. It's the foundation that allows you to write everything else. So what are you actually remembering when you think back to childhood? The answer might unsettle you. Most earliest memories aren't yours at all. They're reconstructed narratives built from parental storytelling, family photos, and repeated conversations. Studies show that children whose parents frequently recount daily events in rich detail form earlier autobiographical memories than those raised in minimalist communication environments. Your childhood isn't a lost archive. It's a collaborative fiction written by the people who watched you grow. You weren't erased, you were rewritten. The brain doesn't store life like a hard drive, it builds identity through continuous revision. Every memory you hold is already altered from the moment it forms, shaped by language, emotion, and later experiences. Infant amnesia isn't a flaw in human design. It's proof that consciousness isn't about preserving the past. It's about navigating the present using whatever tools are available now. Those missing years didn't disappear into void. They dissolved into the architecture of who you became. The synapses that fired during your first steps, your first words, your first tears, they didn't vanish. They wired your nervous system for everything that followed. You can't remember being a baby because you literally were never that person again. Your mind moved on to build something new, and maybe that's the point. Identity isn't a continuous line, it's a series of handoffs. Each stage leaves its mark not in memory, but in structure. What we forget shapes us just as deeply as what we keep.